Ooh.
Overachiever. Right. Good afternoon. We'll call this workshop of the Savannah City Council to order. Today is February the 27th, 2025. The time is 12:38 a.m. p.m. We want to thank everyone for joining us, not only on our social media platforms, our award-winning SGTV, and also here in our temporary chambers. We're going to ask Alderman Curtis Pertee to lead us in a word of prayer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you would, let's go to the Lord in prayer. Excuse me for my voice this morning. I'm just now getting it back. Heavenly Father, as we gather for this meeting, we pause to acknowledge your presence among us. You are our guide, our strength, and our source of wisdom. Like still waters that bring peace to a restless soul, calm our hearts and our minds so that we may approach this time with clarity, patience, and understanding. Remove any distractions or anxieties and help us listen, speak, and decide with wisdom and grace. May our discussions be fruitful, our hearts be open, and our actions be aligned with your purpose. Lead us in the right path and let all that we do bring honor to you. In the name of God the Creator, Christ the Redeemer, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a workshop agenda that includes a 2025 St. Patrick's Day, our major special event briefing. We also have our Interagency Council on Homelessness strategic plan. Then I believe we do have a need for an executive session. I have one on personnel that's brief. You have litigation?
We can talk about it.
Mr. Manager, anything? Okay, well, I have one on, just briefly on personnel. You have litigation, perhaps? Okay, so personnel and litigation, then any city manager's update to get us to our meeting at 2 o'clock. So that being said, Mr. City Manager, Mr. Attorney, Mr. Clerk, are we ready to proceed? Okay, Mr. Manager, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Mayor. Good afternoon, Council. Great to see you. We do have, I think, some important briefings for today's workshop. First, on our annual largest event, the St. Patrick's Day parade, and all of the surrounding festivities, celebrations, and events that take place, and also an update from our Interagency Council on Homelessness. As I invite our Chief of Planning and Economic Development, Faye DeMassimo, Sergeant for our Savannah Police Department, Sergeant Jason Pagliaro, and Director of our Department of Revenue, Ms. Judy Jones, to give a briefing. I want to say that a few weeks ago, I issued City Manager's order creating a major special events task force. We know that special events and the nature of special events is really about public safety preparedness, and our ability to respond to incidents as they occur, and our ability to stop incidents before they start. And so that's really our recognition that these special events that we have, likely around 40 a year, are about festivities and they are about celebrations, but our number one role here is making sure that our community and all of the participants in that event stay safe, as well as our property. So we created the Major Special Events Task Force, which is co-chaired by Faye DeMassimo and by Sergeant Jason Pagliaro, and has a very big table with all of our partners around it to be able to coordinate and make sure that roles and responsibilities are clear, and that we're bringing all of our resources to bear when it relates to public safety for these major special events. So we welcome them, in addition to our Revenue Director, Judy Jones, to talk about these events and get us prepared for the St. Patrick's Day parade, the 201st running.
Right. Thank you, City Manager, and good afternoon, Mayor and Council. We are excited to provide you with this briefing, and it really is going to be focused on the enhanced security and the level that we have taken public safety to, commensurate with the order that the City Manager issued and that established the Major Special Events Task Force, very much needed in our modern times. Before we dig into all the details of that, which is really the meat of our presentation today, I wanted to mention a couple of the regular parade preparation and event preparation matters that I know that you probably hear about and may get questions on. So I wanted you to know that all of the items around our ECC staffing, the marshals and coordination of marshals, litter cleanup, which is always important. We pride ourselves on prompt and really effective litter cleanup both during and after the event to make sure we go back to normal as quickly as possible. Golf carts, porta potties, the procurements and so forth. All of that stuff is actively underway or completed, and we are at a very good stage of preparation. In addition, our Development Services Department and the GIS expertise there has developed a public-facing interactive map link. When the ECC is activated on Friday evening, the parade routes, bleachers, pre-road closures, all that necessary information will be populating in that map and will be available for the public's use as well as yours and anyone else on the public-facing site. Internal, we will also have it as an active management tool with active incidents, road closures, impacted areas, and so forth. So we really have taken our game up in terms of how we're using mapping and going to an interactive platform to be able to support the effective management of all of the activities around this 4 days. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sergeant Pagliaro, and he's going to walk you through all of the incredible enrichment of the public safety aspect of this event.
Good afternoon. As Chief DeMassimo said, I am Sergeant Pagliaro. I am the Special Events Planner for the Savannah Police Department. Been in this role going on 13 years now and have St. Patrick's Day pretty much every year. Most of you have heard from me in the past. This year we've taken a new approach to St. Pat's with things that have been going on around the country and around the world. We've stepped up our protection for both the parade and the River Street and City Market areas, particularly in the area of vehicle-borne attacks. But I'll start at the top and we'll work our way through all of this. We do have the extended consumption of alcohol will be allowed on Monday only on St. Patrick's Day. That will run from MLK to the Truman Parkway, north to River Street and south to Victory Drive. Inside that area will be where open containers will be permitted rather than just the small area north of Jones. As we did last year and the year before, no permits will be issued for activities in the Festival Ordinance Zone area, including outdoor entertainment and alcohol sales. So if they're going to buy alcohol, they have to buy it inside an establishment, not from a vendor on the street. And there will be no stages other than those that are on private property. And this year, no out-of-town motor coaches from Friday until Monday, so no party buses coming in from Atlanta dropping off already inebriated folks down in the downtown area. As always, we've got the regular control zone, which is the area that it is every year, primarily focused on the City Market area, Ellis Square, and the River Street, Bay Street area. In that area, we've got some extra protections and some extra regulations on coolers, only being allowed to have one alcoholic drink in your hand at a time, no unruly animals, exotic animals, and the likes. The same restrictions we've had every year for the 20 years I've been here. But as far as the security enhancements go, this year we have really leaned heavily on state, local, and federal partners. We have special event threat assessments coming in from the FBI, from GEMA and their Department of Homeland Security, the Federal Department of Homeland Security, as well as our local intel unit over at SARIC. All of them are providing us with threat assessments. As of right now, there are no credible threats. They're going to present us with updated assessments every week up until the event so that we know real time what's going on and any threats. In addition to that, GEMA sent down a team from their Homeland Security unit to include their Director of Homeland Security. On the 10th of February, they met with me and my staff at SPD, reviewed our Operations and security plan cover to cover, every bit of it, all 90-something pages of it. And then we promptly went out and walked the parade route from start to finish, as well as River Street and the City Market area. We talked about areas of concern, areas where we think we're doing the right thing, and areas where we think we could do better. All of those recommendations have been put into our plan and have been addressed and have been mitigated as well. We've spoken with construction sites along the route to make sure that any dumpsters and the like will be removed from the route, along with any site trailers where someone could stash an IED or something of the like, will all be moved prior to parade day. We did make a concession for 2 buildings. One is a cathedral and one is a building on Abercorn that have some scaffolding up. Due to the cost to remove that scaffolding, it's going to stay in place, but our bomb squad is going to sweep those 2 scaffolds with EOD dogs, and we will have extra officers in those areas to watch for someone who might try to use that as an elevated platform. In addition, we've met with the parade committee to address any concerns they've had or anything that they've noticed where we could do better as far as protection. So we've implemented changes based on their recommendations as well. One thing we added this year was water barricades. The big concern, like I said, was vehicle-borne attacks, someone running a vehicle into the crowd like we saw down in New Orleans. We have mitigated that in the past with trash trucks, sanitation vehicles, garbage dump trucks, and the like. In addition to those, this year we're placing water barricades around the city. They will go at the bottom of every ramp going down to River Street, so no one will be able to access River Street proper in a motor vehicle. We will have them on each end of River Street, as we don't have bollards. They'll be set up in a serpentine, and then the gaps in them will be plugged with police vehicles to where a vehicle could not get through them. But that still lets us move vehicles if we need to get a fire truck or an ambulance down there quickly and still allow access to the area. That also allows us to keep those in place from Friday at 4 p.m. until Tuesday morning when everything is over. So we've spoken to River Street. They are quite happy with that thought. The Waterfront Association likes the idea of it just being shut down and we don't have to worry about it. So that is in place. We did the same thing around City Market. Jefferson Street will be closed at Bryan and at Congress, so no cars can get in there. And then each end at Franklin Square and at Ellis Square, closest to the market. So on Ellis Square side, where the Wexford is and where Wolfgang Bakery is, we'll have water barricades there. And where Belford's and Vinnie's is, we'll have water barricades there. No vehicles will be able to get into the city market proper area where the crowd congregates. On top of that, we work with Sean Brandon from Parking Mobility Services. We're putting water barricades on the ramp coming up from the Whitaker Street garage, so we don't have to worry about somebody getting into our garage and using that as an access point to get into Ellis Square. So all of those points have been successfully blocked. Along the parade route, we're doing the same thing. We have water barricades that are going up on sidewalks across Bay Street, along with trash trucks and dump trucks inboard from them, and then police vehicles and ambulances inboard from them to stop anyone from taking a high-speed approach down Bay Street to get in there in front of City Hall, or coming up from General McIntosh, as well as several other key points at the beginning of the parade and along major intersections along the parade on Liberty, on Oglethorpe, and on Broughton, and on East Broad, which stops the majority of it. The remainder of the intersections will be blocked by police vehicles, so that prohibits that type of an attack from taking place there. On top of that, morning of the parade, Chatham County Sheriff's Department and regional canines, along with canines from the GBI, will be present, sweeping the entire route from start to finish for explosives. They will not stop until they've done the entire 3 miles of the route. Then they will be available to search any suspicious packages along the route. We will also have 4 CST, which is a National Guard unit out of Virginia, who's going to come down. They will be doing surveys of the air and the air quality, looking for nuclear, chemical, and biological weapons. We do that every year. They're going to be a little more proactive than they've been in years past. They're going to come down a little earlier, sweep it ahead of time so we know what the baseline is, and then they will be doing that the entire weekend. In addition to them, GSP and Department of Public Safety are sending down a nuclear radiation detection team. They're going to sweep the route 3 days ahead, 2 days ahead, and 1 day ahead, looking for hot spots of radiation, and then they will sweep it the morning of the parade, looking for any spikes that morning that we need to address as well. Our bomb squad will be out along with GBI bomb squads all 3 days of the festival time, as well as during the parade. In addition to that, our SWAT team will be present in quick reaction forces both during the parade and during the festival times. So we will have SWAT out in vehicles both during the day and at night downtown, as well as on the parade route where needed, where they can respond quickly to any concerns there. In addition to that, we will have Fusus, our new camera system, will be up. That links all of our body-worn cameras along with cameras in the city provided to us by businesses and the like, along with our body cams and the city Ocularis cameras will be up in the ECC. We showed that to Alderman Leggett yesterday. It lets us put, not only can we see what's going on in the area, but we can see where every officer is because our body cams transmit our location. Lets us put cops on dots if there is an issue and know where the fastest response to those areas will be. So all of that will be present in the ECC that weekend as well. That will start Friday at 4 p.m. and will be active until Tuesday morning at 4 a.m. The only downtime will be from 4 a.m. to 10 a.m. Saturday morning and Sunday morning, but around the clock from Sunday night until Tuesday morning, because basically the night shift is going to go home and the day shift is going to come on for parade day. We talked about that one. In addition to all of the units that we're going to have down there, Department of Public Safety has sent us 100 troopers to assist with the parade. Chatham County Sheriff has been gracious enough to send us 50 officers, 50 deputies to help us with the parade route as well, which is a significantly large increase over what we've gotten in years past. We usually see about 20. To see 50 this year is huge for us. In addition to them, Department of Community Supervision is sending us 55 officers. 25 of them are special event certified and have extra training for dealing with crowds and events. Our mounted patrol will be out along with traffic, heat, and GSP, dealing with crowds and with DUIs in the area as well. As I said, our command post will go up Friday at noon and will start functioning at 4 p.m. They will be active for the entirety of the event. We will have officers in the downtown 24/7 from Friday until Tuesday morning. We have a skeleton crew that will be in overnight. They will keep the closures maintained. They will provide security at the ECC and at both of our command centers as well. As we do every year, Stephen Henry has traffic control or crowd control barricades up Whitaker Street to keep pedestrians off of the street itself and to keep them on the sidewalks. They will also be out on Bay Street to keep people crossing at crosswalks rather than wandering out into Bay. And we may see some traffic closures around the perimeter of City Market based on the crowd sizes. We anticipate those to start Friday night. That will reopen and then probably close again Saturday afternoon once the crowds start to pick up, and again Sunday and Monday. Rideshare geofencing will be in effect. That's going to push folks that need to get ride shares to certain areas. They're going to go to Indian Street, Johnson Square, or Telfair Square, depending on where they are. The app will not let the drivers pick them up from somewhere else, similar to what we did when we started the arena, pushing the rideshare areas to one location. It keeps traffic to a minimum. It stops the blockage of traffic out of the area. It also gives us one spot to look at. When we set those up, we also made sure that we worked with Stephen Henry to make sure that there were portalets in that area, so we didn't have people who were out there who did not have the ability to use facilities while they were waiting for their rideshare. Parking will be, as always, city garages are doing a $25 flat rate throughout the weekend. We are advertising that once they get into Bryan, Whitaker, and State, they can't get out on parade day because they get landlocked in. It's one way in, one way out. So we're advertising that ahead of time. We do have a mailer going out on the 7th. We pushed it out a little earlier this year. Last year it went out on the 11th, and it didn't get to some folks, so we pushed it out a little earlier. It's going out on the 7th this year. It will go, I believe, 2 to 3 blocks out from the entire parade route and festival area to all addresses in that area. It will have a link to the website that Chief DeMassimo was talking about, as well as information on how to get around the parade. All of the streets have been loaded into ways already with the closures, so that is already active as a major special event there. That will alleviate some of the congestion. We know we're going to see congestion, but it will alleviate some of it. Folks will have a way to get in and out, and they know where they're going. Monday for the parade will be the same as always. We're going to kick folks out of the square at midnight. Land rush will start at 6 a.m. City marshals and Sun State Securities will be out in the squares until 6 for the land rush. Once that is over, SPD officers along with partner agencies will be in all of the squares and along the parade route starting as early as 4 p.m. or 4 a.m. rather. Majority of the route by 6 a.m. The route itself will close at 9 a.m. with the exception of Drayton Street. We're going to leave that open ideally until 9:45 so that folks can get in and out of some of the private garages in that area as well as some of the city garages in that area. I already talked about the K9 sweep and the QRF forces. Squares, like I said, will be occupied at 6. We will have folks from the parade committee have got trash bags that they're going to be passing out along the parade route to help with cleanup. In addition to that, our folks will be in the squares helping to clean up the squares. There will be dumpsters near all the squares that we can dump that trash into to try to keep them clean during the parade. And then city teams will occupy the squares and get them clean as soon as the parade route is clear from that area. Major events on March the 12th and 13th, the signs will go up well ahead of the event, so people will know where they can and can't park. Those will be refreshed daily to make sure that they stay up and visible to folks in the area. We're trying to minimize tow as much as we can. Command post up at noon on Friday. Ramps will close at 4 p.m. that day, as will River Street. And SPD goes to full activation Friday at 4 p.m. And we start our operations then all the way through till Tuesday. Marshals will be out that evening checking the food trucks and the like, making sure everything is good to go there. Those will go active for sales on Saturday. Deputy marshals will be out in the area all weekend. Judy's going to talk about that in a minute. Sunday is the Jasper Green Parade. Starts at Johnson Square, runs to Madison Square. Our traffic unit will handle that with the parade committee. Most of our GSP officers will arrive that day. We'll be staying overnight Sunday to be ready to go Monday morning, and then Monday morning is obviously the parade and the large dinner the large event that evening. Tuesday morning we will demobilize and pull all those command posts out of the area and get everything back to normal. On St. Pat's, 6 a.m., at the same time the squares are opening, we start shutting down the staging area, which is everything south of Gaston on Abercorn and the roads on either side, one block out. Towing will begin around that time as well. We will tow the entire route, and like I said, we'll close the route down at 9 a.m. First parade steps off at 10:15. They hope to have the first person in the parade crossing the finish line at 11:30. The 3:30 is their worst case scenario when the last parade unit clears. I've been told they expect to have it clear long before that out of the staging area. They have a little less than they had last year as far as units. They're intentionally keeping it a little low, and we're expecting a slightly lower crowd that day for the parade due to school being in session both in Effingham and in Chatham. Bars close at 2 a.m. on St. Patrick's Day, and like I said, we'll be out until 4 a.m. or until the last of the crowds leave the area. I have these in just from yesterday, but want to talk about them. These are some of those key locations along the parade route where we're using both EMS and water barricades to close down major intersections. The orange at the top of Liberty Street and at the bottom are water barricades with a large no parking sign or no through traffic sign in front of it. The south side of the street is 2 ambulances that can get onto the parade route and still get out to get to Memorial or St. Joe's or Candler as needed. The remainder of the vehicles are police vehicles to keep that shut down. That is throughout the parade, both at Liberty and Abercorn and Taylor Square. I know it says Calhoun. The drawing's from about 10 years ago, and trying to get that out of there has been a challenge. I will get it changed. It's just I have to redraw the entire drawing. Lincoln and Broughton has the same, and then Bay Street has a similar plan as well. I'll turn it over to Judy Jones.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Judy Jones from the Revenue Department. I'm going to speak to you in reference to the alcohol beverage compliance unit, give you some information on that. Let's see, what did I do? Okay. So the alcohol compliance unit goal for that weekend will be to ensure that all the alcohol establishments are abiding in compliance with the alcohol beverage ordinance. We will also be out there developing relationships with these stakeholders, with all our alcohol stakeholders, providing them information, educating them, because we know we have a lot of new managers out and a lot of new employees. So while we are out there, we're going to give them information that they would need to make sure their business meets the compliance and stay within compliance of the alcohol beverage unit, of the alcohol beverage ordinance. So our preliminary and during and post-festival activities from the Alcohol Beverage Control Unit. So on Tuesday, March the 11th, we will hold an alcohol stakeholder meeting at the Coastal Georgia Center at 305 Farm Street. That meeting will be held from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. At that time, all of the alcohol establishment has been invited. They all have been emailed, and as we speak, they're all having hand-delivered notifications are being delivered between today, tomorrow, and some were delivered on yesterday. On the 16th, we will conduct random alcohol compliance checks, and that check will start from 1 p.m. until between 1 and 3 a.m. On March the 15th, I'm sorry, I'm jumping dates. On March the 15th, we will start at 2 p.m. to 3 a.m. We will be conducting compliance checks along with Georgia Department of Revenue. On Sunday, March the 16th, the alcohol establishments for bars were approved to operate starting at 12:30. We will be out in enforcement, starting our enforcement at 1 o'clock to 1 a.m. Bars are going to be closing at 1 o'clock, but we will be around to ensure that all of the bars are closed timely. On the 17th, which is St. Patrick's Day, we will also be out again with the Department of Revenue. We will start our operation starting at 11 a.m. to 3 a.m. We will have shifts for each one of these days. So you will see us out and about, and there will be some helps with other folks, other departments. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the fixed location vendors. So these are all vendors that are set up. These are food trucks and the folks that you see selling from tents and on private property. So we have schedules for them. So on Friday, we will conduct a site visit to assure that the setup, along with the Department of Health, we will be walking with them, looking at the sites, making sure everybody is in compliance, making sure everyone is where they're supposed to be. On Saturday, we will start our operation at 8 a.m. until 1 a.m. Sunday, we will start at 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. And on Monday, we will start at 8 a.m. to 12. This is the hours of operations for those fixed location vendors. So we're enforcing the closing times. So these are the times that all of the fixed location vendors that are non-alcohol businesses will be required to close.
Thank you to the team. I just want to stress before we get into questions, we could pull that back to the parade map. We've gotten into a lot of detail specifically around our Homeland Security efforts, and that's really just an effort to be transparent about the things that we have to consider when we host a large event like this, and to key any questions that you have so that we can make sure that we respond to it. We're also being transparent about our enforcement hours for ABC, and we're being transparent because we want all of our alcohol establishments to know that we are going to be out and we are going to be enforcing our ordinances. And if you're playing by the rules, that's phenomenal, and keeping public safety, that's great. But if you are not, there will be consequences and we will be out. So please, 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 it's in your best interest to follow our ordinance and make sure that you're complying, because we will be out there in full force. That's what we wanted to be able to convey today. We do have a series of press briefings where staff will brief press to make sure that we get the word out on street closures and about security measures, and of course all of our cleanliness and keeping the green and St. Patrick's Day. All of those messages will be there. Some of the new things that we'll be adding this year is mailers to every door related to our towing enforcement and some other key information that we know that specifically downtown neighbors and downtown businesses need to be aware of because of the disruption. So please be on the lookout for that, and we thank council for being able to spread that message as well on your social media vehicles. And with that, Mayor and Council, we are very, very happy to take any questions you have about our preparedness, public safety-wise, for St.
First of all,
Patrick's Day.
thank you, and I want to thank you, Mr. City Manager, and thank you, team, for the effort. This is something we do every year, and I think as successful as we've been, we can never take it for granted. We are only one incident away from having a disaster, and so I appreciate, and obviously in my position, I'm familiar with a lot of the work that's going on. But this is almost a year in planning, and then it just ramps up. We recognize that there have been some things that have happened across the country that has our radar up, but to Sergeant Pagliero's point, we maintain contact with our federal and our state local partners. We're monitoring social media to make sure that we are aware of any threats that occur. Our St. Patrick's Festival has changed from when I got on council, and it's been a welcome change. It is not a drunk fest anymore, and we did not want our city to be known as where people just come and get smashed and don't remember the rest of the time in our city. We wanted them to be able to come, have a great time, have their spirits lifted. For our Irish friends, to include me, who's 2% Irish, Mr. City Manager, to celebrate my Irishness, my 2%, and then people go home and go home safely. And so I just want to not only lift that up, our community gets very involved in this, and we support it. We just want to make sure that at the end of the day, people are safe, and I think that is the majority. I also want to lift up my Deputy Assistant Marty Johnson, who's also served as special advisor, who's had some experience in that. I see her standing up over there, so thank you so much for your help, Marty. Questions from council? Alderman Palumbo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to thank the team and congratulate you on your efforts, particularly in taking a look at what's happened in the city of New Orleans just this year. We've recognized that we have to be ever vigilant and be prepared for any contingency. So I wanted to commend you on the thoroughness and the level of detail that you provided, particularly for vehicular traffic. And while we're in the neighborhood, one special request for Sergeant Pagliaro, Chief DeMassimo, coming from Alderman Palumbo, I would humbly like to submit for our consideration the Little Italy tour of the Savannah St. Patrick's Day Parade. If we could have a detour to Garibaldi's, Bella Napoli, Vinny's, these would be outstanding additions to our parade. So just some food for thought, pun intended, and throwing this out there for you guys. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman Shabazz.
Oh, and on that same note, we're going to stay on that page for just a second and come on down MLK to Shabazz Seafood Restaurant. Come on, come on. What I want to say is in reference to the planning of our St. Patrick's Day and to voice how serious we are in reference to keeping our residents and our visitors very, very safe. So we are asking everyone to continue their planning, get the airplanes all packed and all of the trains and the buses and putting gas in your vehicles and come on to Savannah because we are ready to keep you safe and for you to have a very, very good time in our city. In reference to the control zone restrictions, our officer has stated, but I'm just going to voice the prohibited items that we have listed, which are coolers, multiple cups per person, unruly animals, exotic animals, We've had some situations in the past with that. We've gotten better with that, and people not bringing those types of animals around our visitors and our constituents and our residents here in the city of Savannah. Fireworks, smoke bombs, skates, bikes, and dangerous and disruptive behaviors. Those items and more are prohibited during our St. Patrick's Day Festival. Also, I want to ask a question in reference to the rideshare area. Because rideshare is so popular now with all the digital wonderful things that goes on in the digital world, in the cyberspace, people are using rideshare, even our residents in our city, to come down to the festival. My question is, how long will the rideshare period last?
I'm going to default to Sean. He is the one that set up the geofences, so rather than give you something that's not 100%, I'll let him answer that.
Okay.
I believe that fence will start that night, will be about 10 p.m. until 5 a.m. the next day, and then we'll repeat that Saturday, Sunday, and then into Monday night. We do have to be careful about the geofences, because once that fence is up, it doesn't matter where you live or where you're going, you are forced to that pickup location. So a resident who lives downtown, if we say had it up 24 hours and they were trying to get to the airport at 9 in the morning, would be forced to go to that point. So we're very careful when we set it up to just target the times that we really need it.
Fantastic, fantastic. That's very, very important during that time. And I would like to I just made a note about the Jasper Green Parade. Jasper Green Parade.
It's on Sunday. It starts, I believe, at 3. It runs from Johnson Square to Madison Square and just stays in that 2-block area.
Okay, great. So that's another point I just wanted to make for our visitors and residents, which is another part of our festival. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alderwoman Bell.
Just a quick question, and Sean, you might be the one to answer this one. On the prohibited list is bicycles, but then I saw on the parking page a recommendation to bike into downtown as an alternative transportation. So will there be a special safe space, a safe parking space, or guarded area for bicycles, folk who opt to bike into town?
The bikes in the control zone is more for, more than anything, we don't want bikes riding through City Market. We don't want bikes riding through River Street and up on the sidewalks. Other than that, obviously, folks use bicycles for transportation all the time. And Bike Walk Savannah is huge in the downtown area. So we're not gonna enforce someone who's trying to get home, someone who's trying to get downtown, as long as they're locking their bikes up appropriately, not chaining them to city infrastructure, parking meters and telephone poles and the like. As long as they're locking their bikes appropriately, we don't have a problem with the bikes. We just don't need them around crowds.
But they can be navigated, though, through the parade route?
No, it won't be able to get through the parade route itself. Once the parade is up, the barricades are in place. They won't be able to cross the parade route.
So you're just promoting biking into town as an alternative to driving your
and
car?
parking.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you all so very much for your presentation. My question is for Ms. Judy Jones. In reference to our alcohol license, alcohol beverage compliance goals, the red zone, the red cup zone, does it extend to Bull and Victory Drive, or where does that?
Yes, it will extend for that day.
And we'll pull up the map again for you to see. It would be the same footprint as we've had for the last 3 years.
Okay, I just want to make it clear and let it be known, because there are two establishments on Bull and Victory that serve alcohol, and they're not normally allowed to use red cups, but on that day. And is that during the whole festival time, or just on
Just on
St.
March,
Patrick's Day, the 17th?
just on March the 17th.
I mean, yeah, gotcha. All right, thank you
And
so much.
not Sunday night after midnight, but starting at opening on Monday morning throughout the day Monday. The to-go cup zone will be open.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So our experience is a little different, and I think you could speak to it, and certainly any of the members of the team. Obviously, I've been around long enough to kind of see this cycle back. We have Fridays and Saturdays. We know they're huge crowds. We expect the crowds on the weekends. By Monday, folks are going to go on back to work. So could somebody speak about the kind of the ebb and flow of seeing more visitors generally on the weekends, and then how that looks when we have an off weekend parade as opposed to an on weekend parade?
One of the things that we're kind of anticipating this year is a slightly smaller crowd on parade day. One, it's still a business day for a lot of businesses around town, as well as the military bases and the like. On top of that, it's a school day. School was supposed to be out that day in both Effingham and Chatham, but my understanding is that because of the snow day, they had to make it up somewhere, and that was the day they chose. So that's going to lessen some of our crowds in the downtown area just because of that. We do anticipate that we will still see large crowds Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. Hotels are still just as booked as they always are, and most of them are requiring 2 to 3 night stays. So we anticipate we're still going to have a good crowd of the folks that are coming in from out of town. And obviously, some businesses will be closed for St. Pat's, but it will be a slightly less busy day on St. Patrick's Day than it is on years where it's on a Friday or a Saturday or a Sunday.
And to follow up on that, Mayor, we are anticipating heavy downtown activity beginning Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And of course, City Council did pass that Sunday would be the one Sunday a year where bars that are not restaurants would be able to serve. So we are expecting those days to be quite heavy. We have, though, just in the normal course of our busier seasons in the fall and the spring, we see heavy activity downtown most Friday and Saturday nights. And so we expect this to be one of the busiest weekends, but we kind of handle this activity routinely, but we really are expecting those crowds to be pretty strong during the weekend, and then again Monday night. But Monday may as well be Monday night may be the least impactful day.
And finally, for me, and back to the sergeant's point, because you just triggered something, because usually school is out. Have we been able to coordinate with the school system? Because obviously Bay Street is a major east-west corridor that's going to be unavailable. Most of downtown will be unavailable. Have we been able to really kind of communicate with them, because that's going to impact travel times and everything
We've been
else?
involved with BOEPD, not specifically speaking to BOE, the board itself. We've been in contact with BOEPD because they provide officers for the parade as well. We'll keep Bay open as long as we possibly can. We don't anticipate it closing till 9:30. We have to have time to get the infrastructure in place for the closure, though, for the parade itself.
Okay.
So we'll keep it open probably 9:15, but then we need time to get the curb in front of City Hall up, the ambulance corral up, and the water barricades filled and the like, so.
We might want to communicate with them, because
Yes, we
it
will.
could significantly impact.
Yeah. Yes, sir. I think it's a great point, and we'll absolutely work on that over the next several days, just to make sure that we both understand the impacts of that, especially for our schools in the near zones, and how that's going to be impacted.
We have several elementary schools. Garrison is right in the mix of it. Gadsden's in the mix of it. So just making sure that they're
Yes, sir.
able to.
We will absolutely do that.
Thank you, sir. Alderwoman Wilder Bryan, then Alderman Leggett, and then we'll move on.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Melger, I have a couple of questions. Thank you for your PowerPoint, but I'm feeling some kind of way about having Calhoun still. We went through a lot of stuff, and negate there and not mentioning that it's not that name anymore is very important to the people of the city, too. We have to do better when we are doing these PowerPoints that last forever and ever. And this city council took a long time to make sure that that name was changed. So, just for the edifice of everybody, random checks should not be announced. Thank you for everybody. So, and the other thing is, when we do, last year, Gunther and his staff did visible roll calls, and there were a lot of people who really enjoy that. They need to know visible that there are people who are going to be protecting them. And so at the last count, and I stopped counting, there are going to be over 275 officers who are going to be assist you, but I have not heard how many deputy marshals there are, and it should be equitable. If we're going to follow through with the beginning, then the end should be followed through too. Can you tell me how many deputy marshals that you have?
Right now, we have 30 deputy marshals. Those marshals are coming from various departments around the city.
And so, are you in need of more deputy marshals? Because I can't see how we have all these officers doing what they need to do, and at the end, what we need to do, you're not fully equipped. And so, Mr. City Manager, I really think that she needs some more people to make sure that her job is done. On any other thing, I wanted to know is these water barricades. So when you first said you're going to use them, there are some pro and cons, and so we are trying to be proactive so we prevent things that happen in New Orleans. And are the water barricades that we have, are they part of our inventory, or?
They are not.
Okay, so why wouldn't we have done concrete instead of, because I think the alderman from the second district, we mentioned an F-150 or anything, if somebody wanted to do some damage, can really go through those water barricades. And so we want to do better, and so I would want them to think about that when you do that. From Googling, the water barricades are more expensive than the concretes. And we're not worrying about them breaking, because that was one of the things that they said about the concrete barricades, because if you're going to rent those, then I would much prefer that we have something, if we're going to talk to, and speaking what the mayor said, we got to be in lockstep, and we need to always be proactive, especially when it could cause lives at stake. There's one more thing that.
Can we talk a little bit about the water barriers, though? Because
Yes,
I do want to make sure that everyone's aware of kind of the strategic approach there.
There's two reasons for water over concrete. One, concrete requires heavy equipment to emplace it and to move it. If I have to open a street up because we have a large fire, let's say I've shut down Bay Street and the Hilton catches on fire, or the Hyatt rather catches on fire, I can dump the water out of a water barricade and get it moved with people. To move a concrete barrier, I have to get a large piece of equipment, a front-end loader out there to move that barricade. The other reason for that is we want the streets back open again. Our residents and our citizens are insistent that the parade route gets cleared as quickly as possible. In order to do that with concrete barricades, I would again have to pull heavy equipment out onto the streets to move them, when I can just flush a water barricade and quickly get it out of the roadway.
And Sergeant, I think that to the Alderwoman's point, she's more concerned about the protective nature of concrete versus water, right?
That's why it's more than one. We put more than one water barricade in a place. We double
And can
them
you
up.
talk about the effectiveness of a water barricade?
By doubling those up, we get the same effect that we do with having one concrete
Okay,
barricade.
so we really need to make that very clear to our residents, because they're speaking on their safety too, And I believe, I know you want to move expeditiously, but we need to keep people safe, reliable, and people every day are contacting our attorney about risk management. So we always want to be, as a fiduciary member, how cost-effective this stuff is. Okay, so I think you've answered my questions, but if you have a parade route And that route has been identified with our EMTs and our fire department and our police department. I think we could do better in some of those spaces because they can't come down certain streets anyway. And if you're over there, I would want to make sure that those barricades you put in place, that they're ultimately going to keep the people who don't need to be in that space as opposed to the people who do. Thank you for your time and your PowerPoint.
Thank you, Alderman Leggett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
we move.
Mr. Melder, have we made the neighborhood leaders surrounding the festival area aware of the challenges that they may face with the garbage, the different forms of traffic, and what we're getting today?
Well, we're making them and others aware through our routine. I think there are weekly meetings that we have with festival stakeholders, including neighborhood association leaders who are welcome to attend. This is a part of that effort as well. And again, I think the thing that we're doing this year that's new are the mailers to all of our addresses in impacted areas. And so we'll absolutely coordinate with our neighborhood leaders in all of our impacted neighborhoods and adjacent neighborhoods to ensure that they have all the information. And really, we know that everybody from every neighborhood participates in some way in these activities for the most part. And so it's almost just as valuable as our residents who aren't living in the impacted areas to know how they can come in and be safe. And so we're trying to spread those messages as well.
Also, Mr. Melder, our garbage receptacles, our dumpsters, they're going to be strategically placed in certain areas, not only just for trash, but for security also. Do we have a turnaround schedule from our sanitation? When will they be dumped, or they're just going to dump them as needed?
We'll follow up on our sanitation route, but yes, our trucks and our large receptacles are not only placed for function, but also placed for public safety as well. But I will follow up this week on what the sanitation cadence will be in our downtown areas for that weekend.
Sergeant Pag, I know we spoke yesterday, but is there a update to, and I know the mayor probably want the same answer, Yamacraw parking? I know that a lot in our public.
I've addressed that with our staff, and we will make sure we have people over there specifically just to deal with that. I've already spoken to our day shift supervisor in the ECC. He's going to ensure that there is officers present in that area during all zones.
And then the reason I raised that question on yesterday is because last year we saw on camera in the ECC that it was multiple people parking in the parking spaces where the residents live, and the residents couldn't actually go home. So my next question, Officer Pegg, would be what is the status of our homeless who live in the downtown region in that area? How are we going to address them? Because I know it's hard to move a lot of people or really address our homeless issue. But do we have a plan?
Our officers that deal specifically with homeless individuals will be out in the area all weekend. They will be specifically down in the downtown area just to focus on that.
And we do have another presentation today, and I think that for our homeless authority and our ICH can also touch on that effort as well, because they do think about that every year as well.
So have we had a conversation with our public transit to figure out if they're going to be working outside of the festival area to get people in and out?
Yes, sir. We do coordinate with CAT.
The only shuttle that won't be running on parade day is the DOT shuttle that runs up Drayton. The other DOT shuttle that runs around the perimeter will still be running that.
Right.
Yeah, they're in our weekly meetings every week.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All right.
Just a quick.
All right, let me go to Alderman Waller-Bryan, then you're going to be last question. We have to move. So.
Just one quick thing. We didn't mention the porta potties. I don't see, they're usually on the map. So are we going to be?
We do, yes, ma'am, we do. We will again have our portalets out there for all to use for sanitary reasons, and we'll publish a map where those are going. They're going to be likely in the same locations. Those locations are delicately negotiated with neighbors, and so we want to make sure that those are the same that we do. But also a reminder that it is not allowable to bring your own porta potty downtown. Not on the back of a truck, not on the back of a trailer, not on the back of a bicycle. So please, there are plenty of portalettes that will be out for your use. Please use those.
And so just one quick thing on this event ordinance zone. I just want to get some clarification. It says extended area designated for consumption of beverages on the public road on March 17th only. I get that, right? But then down to the bottom, it says no outdoor dispensing of alcoholic beverages.
Yes, ma'am.
Who is that for?
So
That is for anybody. That basically means if you're going to sell alcohol, it has to be done inside a brick and mortar store. We're not allowing alcohol tents set up. We're not allowing the beer trailer to come up and park out in the street and
Okay.
sell. They have to go inside a brick and mortar business that has an alcohol license.
Yeah. I just wanted that clarified.
you
Thank
can't
so
sell
much.
from a window, you can't sell from a table outside of your establishment. It's got to be on your property.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr.
Alderwoman
Mayor.
Bell.
Just a quick statement. This isn't a question, but unless this year is different from the past, Mr. City Manager and Jean Prevet and the sanitation people, I have always been, or for years, have been impressed by how quickly the sanitation folk follow the parade after the last, by living downtown, I see this, after the last unit in the parade, you will then see a crew, a whole string of sanitation trucks. So it's
Yeah.
amazing.
They're
how quickly-
remarkable. It really is one of the, and come join me at 4 a.m.
No,
that morning when we
that's okay.
squeegee
Thank
the
you,
city.
though.
It's really an
All
amazing
hands
sight.
on deck.
But it's the sanitation mission, really as much as we pride them after the parade and the next day, how clean the city is.
Absolutely.
When the parade falls on a Monday, it's a multi-day event. So the real mission 2 starts on Friday and will end Tuesday morning.
All hands on deck.
This is our Super Bowl. Thank you all so much. I appreciate it, team. We started a little early, so the good news is that, if there are any updates, city manager have opportunity to do that. We have another council meeting in between this. So thank you all very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Manager, we're running up against the gun. So.
Yes, we'll move through this one. I do want to now introduce our Interagency Council on Homelessness team, our chair, Karen Gwynn, who is here, our vice chair, Jennifer Davenport, our executive director, who's at the podium, Stephanie Capel. I also want to recognize our Homeless Authority executive director for Chatham, Savannah, Miss Jennifer DeLong, and we're here to present council on our first ever, our communities, not just the city of Savannah, but our entire community's first ever strategic plan to prevent and end homelessness that's been adopted. This is the year of strategic planning in the city, and homelessness is no different. So with that, I will turn it over to Ms. Capel to begin the presentation.
Ms. Capel, to our media partners, y'all ain't got to leave. I mean, this is important too.
Right.
This is important too. And so I would invite you to stay. Go ahead.
And report it.
Good afternoon, and thank you for your time today and giving us some time to speak about what I think is truly an amazing plan that has come from a lot of hard work, not just by us up here, but by many in the community to make sure that we could get to this, what I think is a very proud moment for us. So as a reminder, we developed our 5-year strategic plan. We had a vision. Our goal is to achieve functional zero. That means that homelessness is rare, brief, and non-reoccurring. And anyone in our county who is experiencing homelessness or at risk of homelessness, we have the correct service to give them to make that a limited time that they are in this experience. We began in September of 2023. The project spanned a full year with 5 different phases. There's a lot of reviewing data, reviewing the different reports and studies that we've done on housing, not just from within our own agencies, but working with our different partner agencies from across the county. I'm very proud that we did include the voices of 65 key stakeholders, but also 51 frontline workers were a part of this project. And we surveyed over 112 people experiencing homelessness, then had 105 people experiencing homelessness in our focus groups, and worked with 23 families in our focus groups too. So we really put the voice of those who are experiencing homelessness at the front of our work and at the front of our recommendations. And I believe what we have ended with is a pretty comprehensive 5-year strategic plan to end homelessness. It gives us 6 goals with measurable outcomes. And these are goals that really draw upon all parts of our community. We're not just looking to our agency agencies or the local government, we are asking our local business community, our schools, our churches, our higher education and learning centers to come to the table and be a part of this plan. So quickly looking at the goals, you'll see that we've landed with 6 different goals. The first is establish an integrated system to prevent and end homelessness. This is really creating the foundation of our work and ensuring that we have the right leadership, the right data, the right ability to tell what we need in our community and to guide us moving forward. This also means establishing the role of the ICH in the community and strengthening the role of our lead agency, the Chatham-Savannah Authority for the Homeless. Goal number 2, address the immediate needs for high needs residents and those living in encampments. We understand how challenging and frustrating street homelessness can be, and we are working very hard to come up with effective plans that help connect those individuals to our great services, to our shelters, and getting them from the streets into services and into housing. We have made a commitment to develop an encampment management policy, to look at how we provide for our individuals during extreme weather, and also have made a commitment to improve awareness and access points to programs. So while we know there's a lot of great programs out there, we want to make sure that those who need our services have the information on how to get to them. Third, increase opportunities and access to affordable housing and low barrier shelter. We are very confident that while we have a lot of great shelters, we know that we are not meeting everyone's need. And when we're going into encampments and encouraging people to come out and enter services, we have to have services that support them. And for individuals that are dealing with severe mental illness or severe substance abuse, have pets, or in couples, we want to make sure that when they say, yes, I'm ready to make this change, they are with us and we have a spot to offer them. Next, develop and strengthen programs to prevent homelessness. Truly, the best answer for someone experiencing homelessness is that they never have to enter it. They never have to go through the trauma and the challenge of having that stigma placed on them. So we are looking at how can we make homelessness less common in our community? How can we help people? So sometimes it just takes a rent payment. Sometimes it just takes a little help navigating the system to avoid that whole experience for them. Our 5th goal, expand workforce opportunities, transportation, and financial support. We want to make sure that as we help people through this experience, they then have the resources to move forward without ongoing, returning to homelessness, that they can move safely into jobs, that we have the transportation that gets them where they need to go. We have a lot of great education opportunities and programs. Let's make sure they're accessible to the people who truly need them and can benefit from them. We have great job growth and development coming. Let's make sure the people who want jobs in our community have the skills and resources to get those. And next, support community-wide efforts to advance policies that prevent and end homelessness. This is the advocacy part where we're all on the same page, where we're making sure that as we create policies, that we are doing it in ways that are thoughtful and will truly help us end homelessness and prevent it, and not just kind of move it from one place to the next. Today at Council, we are asking you to support a resolution that will support 2 legislation acts. One is to create the ICH. This establishes us under Georgia law. It gives us really kind of the power and the oomph that we need to do what we want to do. We're also going to be amending the language on the legislation that established the Chatham-Savannah Authority for the Homeless. This doesn't change their role. It just defines them as our collaborative applicant. They're going to continue to do all the great work that they've done. It's a pretty good partnership, I think. Both of our boards support this. The Chatham County Council has already supported this as well. Chamber of Commerce supports this. So we really hope that we have your support in this resolution today, because it will allow Savannah, Chatham County to stand up and say, we are putting action behind our goals to end homelessness. Just some other policies and actions that we're already taking. We just released this plan in November, and I'm very proud that we already have things that we can check off our accomplishment list. Just earlier this week, we accepted our encampment management policy as a general membership for the ICH, and this is a policy that balances safe management of camps, builds connections to services, and respects the needs of all citizens. And we're really hoping that this will be something that others will get behind and support with us because we think we have created a very safe and respectful policy that will help people connect to services. As we all know, we've had a lot of extreme weather this year. It seems a little unfair to have both a hurricane and a snowstorm in the same 6-month period, but we have here in Savannah. And as such, we have been reviewing our policies to make sure that we are providing shelter for those who are unhoused appropriately. And we actually have gone back to our meeting table and are working out kinks that we saw in the last, but we're expanding that, bringing more partners to the table, and establishing more services for those individuals during those extreme weather events. And ideally, anytime we're having an extreme weather event where someone's choosing to shelter with us, we're connecting them to long-term services and building on that moment. We also have 4 work groups now focused on the 6 goals of the strategic plan. So while we are just, a few months into this, I feel like we're already working very quickly to hit some of these goals and to keep this momentum going. That's what I have. Any questions?
Thank you. Please, Karen.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor and Council, thank you for allowing us the time to come and speak. And Stephanie, thank you for that presentation. We actually have 3 requests that we want to give.
name?
Oh, sorry. I'm Karen Gwynn, the chair of the ICH. We had 3 requests that we wanted to make of you today. First is to formally adopt our strategic plan. The city is a very important partner and has been a strong supporter of the creation of the ICH and the plan, so we would like for you to formally do that. It doesn't have to be today.
I was going to ask you, I think we want to be able to read
Yep,
over it and
certainly.
receive recommendation from city managers, so. yes, ma'am.
Certainly. The second is we formally adopted an encampment management policy that has been in the works for more than 2 years with stakeholders throughout the community. So we do think that that is an important first step, especially with federal Supreme Court rulings and some pending legislation at the state level. So we would like for you to consider that in addition to the 2 pieces of legislation that are on the agenda today.
Mr. Manager, I thought the homeless authority was already the COC. See, it's changed now, right? It's the ICH. I'm just trying to.
So, and Ms. Gwynn can answer this as well as Ms. Capel. The COC, or what that means, continuum of care, is a federal designation from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, which defines the area for which receives federal funding to support homelessness efforts. That continuum of care requires a board. And so our continuum of care in Savannah-Chatham County is our Interagency Council on Homelessness Board, which is chaired by Ms. Karen Gwynn. And you heard a term, which is also a HUD term, called our lead applicant or our collaborative applicant.
Right.
Every continuum of care usually has a joint partner by which they pull their applications into the federal government. We are no different. Our collaborative applicant is the Homeless Authority. So the 2 bills that are with the State House right now clarify the 2 roles between those 2 entities in our local continuum of care.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Manager. Well, what you're requesting us today, there were 3 asks, and I think on today's agenda, we only have 1.
Today's ask is to formally support as a body the local legislation that would create a state entity formally recognizing the Savannah-Chatham Interagency Council on Homelessness as our continuum of care, as well as to amend the local charter for the Homeless Authority to bring their scope and authority in line with our new governance structure here. We are, the city attorney and I are and have been reviewing the encampments policy, which the city has been a partner in creating the last 2 years and have been piloting. And we will make a recommendation to City Council and provide that information to you. And I will bring the ICH strategic plan to City Council soon for a formal adoption, and I will be recommending to City Council that we do adopt that plan.
And we have 2 members here that are members of the board. I just want to make sure as well that you all are. Okay, all right. Any other questions here? Since the question was asked about St. Patrick's Day, let's go ahead and get that out there. I know that's always a heavy lift for us for a variety of reasons. It's also a heavy lift in terms of human trafficking. But Mr. Long, if you like.
So in meeting and working with the city manager, AC Gavin, and Chief Gunther, the Homeless Authority's outreach team, funded in part by the city of Savannah, has been working additional hours, working till midnight on Fridays, working expanded hours on Saturdays, and being very specific about engaging with people in the downtown Bay Street, Broughton Street, River Street, Ellis Square, Reynolds, and other places, Forsyth Park, and getting together with SPD's HOPE team so that we can ensure that they've all been offered services and making sure that they're connected with emergency shelter bed spaces as they're made available. Questions?
Yes, sir.
But what if some of those, the ones who are roofless, don't desire to go into any services? How will we address those?
For St. Patrick's Day weekend?
During that weekend?
Well, everyone has a right to be in a public space, and where you live doesn't define that right for you, so they would have that right to be there so long as they're obeying other laws and not causing a nuisance, just like anybody who would come downtown during St. Patrick's Day weekend. So there's going to be a zero tolerance for destructive behavior, and that goes for anybody that would be downtown.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to make sure that whatever initiatives that we do for St. Patrick's Day, that we can continue those same initiatives throughout the rest of the year if we're going to do it for our homeless.
Absolutely. We will not criminalize homelessness. We shall not. We will deal with criminal behavior like anyone else, but we will not, in this city, criminalize someone for being homeless. If they're spending money, if they're not spending money, our public spaces are public spaces. And we expect everyone to act within the accordance of the law. If there's a violation, and I think that's where you were going, if there was a violation, we'll deal with the violation. But we be very clear, I want to make sure, I want to say publicly, no one associated with this city or our police department is going to be involved in issues of people being criminalized because they are homeless.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you all so much for your presentation. Please introduce yourselves and tell me what your positions are with our Homeless Authority.
My name is Jen DeLong. I'm the Chief Executive Officer for the Chatham-Savannah Authority for the Homeless.
And I am Stephanie Capel. I am the Executive Director of the Savannah-Chatham County Interagency Council on Homelessness.
I'm Karen Gwynn. I am the soon-to-be outgoing chair of the Interagency Council on Homelessness, and I'm an executive member of CSAH.
I'm Jennifer Davenport. I'm the incoming chair of the Interagency Council on Homelessness, and I am rolling off of the Executive Committee of the Homeless Authority.
Okay, thank you. I'm reading this act to amend CASA. So this is saying that you all will be together. CS is actually CASA and ICH. In the paragraph where it says CASA amendment states their role as the operations of the continuum of care, now CS-ICH. So y'all are going to be, is that CASA and ICH, or what is that?
If I could, I want to make clear, because CASA is also another acronym locally, which is for our
Point of special advocates.
our child advocates, and that's not. So the Chatham-Savannah Authority for the Homeless, CSAH, is what's called the co-applicant for our continuum of care. And as the co-applicant who's in charge of essentially the system operations for our homelessness system, so they're in charge of our homeless management information system, they run our annual point in time count, they also provide key services like outreach, and transportation. And they help to facilitate important functions within the continuum of care. The Interagency Council on Homelessness / Continuum of Care is our community table, which is the governance structure of the entire system, the entire homelessness system, and is the formal body that requests and receives funds from the federal government. But they're two separate entities, and this state law does not combine them. It just defines the roles and responsibilities between the two.
I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
For the public's knowledge, we have two CASAs, and I just want it clarified so that the public would know that it's not the other CASA, but it's this one dealing with the Homeless Authority.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you all so very much.
Very good point.
Thank you. And I do want to lift up Karen Gwynn's work. She's been involved in this for quite some time. Hopefully, you see your efforts have taken flight as we're really moving together as one team, one band, one sound. So thank you so much for your efforts for that.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you all so much. Mr. Manager, Mr. Attorney, I said I need a really brief executive session. I think we can do that and be back and ready to start a little bit right after 2 o'clock.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to make a motion for an executive session for the purpose of
Personnel and litigation.
personnel and litigation.
Second.
Properly moved in second that we go into executive session for purposes of litigation and personnel. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We stand in recess.